welcome back to Real Reviews. This is Cody Williams, and we're here to talk about the movie Saw. This is a film that was very ahead of its time, so to speak. It was unique and it raised the bar for horror movies. The film was given a small budget and was only shot in the span of 18 days. Both directors James Wan and Leigh Whannell wanted to make a movie immediately after they finished film school, but they could only afford one room to shoot the movie. However, they both challenged themselves to create a film that only occurred in one particular room, which many may know as the bathroom used throughout this movie and its sequels. This movie, Saw, was a byproduct of this, and it was considered one of the most profitable and most successful horror movies of all time. Unequivocally, this movie did spawn 8 sequels. During the span of the many sequels, we've had a new Saw movie that always released around Halloween, henceforth the saying, if it's Halloween, it must be Saw. Because of this, I always associate these movies with Halloween. The last sequel that released just a few years ago, I really wasn't a big fan of because it broke continuity and it felt too tame for my liking. However, we were supposed to have another sequel this year, making it the 9th movie in the series, but unfortunately, it got delayed because of the pandemic. The movie story follows 2 strangers as they awaken chained up in a bathroom with no recollection on how they got there, and they soon discover they are both pawns in a deadly game orchestrated by the notorious Jigsaw Killer. What I really like about this movie is how so much was accomplished with very little. Sure, the movie does focus on 2 people chained up in a bathroom for the most part, but the filmmakers were allowed other various small filming locations within their budget. I don't want this to sound weird by any means, but I really enjoyed the innovative traps that were designed by the Jigsaw Killer, which gave the movie some really gruesome death scenes. I mean, you don't directly see them in the majority, but they're mostly implied. You do get to see a mild amount of blood and gore, but it's nothing compared to its ghastly sequels. From what I've read, director James Wan never intended for these movies to be as nasty as they became, sequel after sequel. This is where the first movie shines because it focuses on psychological horror more than anything else. I myself am not easily frightened by gratuitous bloodshed and screams that you would see in your typical horror movie. However, Saw does evoke emotions of terror and fear, all while remaining plausible. This is not your typical horror flick. It doesn't have things that would jump out at the viewer just for the sake of jump scares. In this case, the situation itself is more frightening than the actual film's presentation. This is a movie that heavily relies on a pulse-pounding, thrilling atmosphere. Combined with an awesome soundtrack from Charlie Clouser, this movie accomplishes the amazing feature of making the audience very uncomfortable and squirm in their seats. If there's anything I didn't like about this movie, it would have to be the somewhat lackluster script and the second-rate acting. It wasn't the actors' faults by any means, but something was just off for my liking. I don't know how to describe it. I do have to say that there were definitely some weird and ridiculous choices of dialogue in the movie. The script could have been better, but what are you going to do? Overall, Saw is a great movie that is mostly praised by many. It's equally enjoyable and thrilling alike. It even contains one of my favorite twist endings in cinematic history that you won't see coming from a mile away. Watching this movie is truly quite the experience. For being a debut film for these film school graduates, Saw has become quite the favorite for many fans of the horror genre, including myself. Despite its fair share of issues, this movie is considered a classic in my book. I give this movie a B+. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Keep up with my real reviews.